Extracts from reports of sittings. Sitting of December 23, 1903. Rector controlling.
Art thou here? Art thou present?
I am.
In God's holy name, we greet thee this day and this hour. We sent for thee to return to us that we might make all clear to thee, bring messages from those who seek thee on our side, and teach thee the divine and holy will of God. Hearest thou me?
I do. I am glad I have not been dropped from the fold.
Dropped, friend? Not one lamb who cometh unto us, who seeketh us in the highest, who have faith in God, will depart from us, or will we allow them to drift from the fold, unprotected or unguided. Thy friends on this side hath sought thee often.
Friend?
Friends. They have sought thee, they have called us to seek thee, to find thee out, to bring thee unto us, and unto them. Hearest thou me?
Yes.
Friend, O those of little faith know not the workings of the All-Wise. I am Rector, servant of God. I bring to thee first thy friend known as Hiram.
My old friend of early sittings, who passed away in 1885, known in old reports as H. There was some talk here, which I understood to be by Hiram Hart, but while in the earlier years he talked very naturally, his style being very unlike that of Rector. At this time, the two personalities were so much alike that I could not clearly distinguish when one left off speaking and the other began. It appeared later, however, that Rector brought Hiram Hart, and the latter came to introduce the friend who had never before made his appearance. For he said,
I am bringing another friend who seeks you, who knows you as you are. He would speak also, but the awakening of his soul was the most remarkable I have ever known. I sought him and found him. He sought me. We found each other. We are together. We clasp hands, we are friends.
Yes,
They call him on our side General.
I see.
I know not his other name so well, but he is known by this and we call him this. And he is happy but longs to meet you. Do you hear?
Yes.
Now here comes the General. Will you speak to him?
Oh, I should be delighted. What immediately follows, I understood to be the first words that came from the later acquaintance, who passed out about 21 months previous to date of this sitting. The General.
I want to see you. I want everything to be understood between us, and, until it is, I do not feel satisfied. Can't you help me? Can't you see the obstacles in my way?
A few brief phrases only, omitted here.
Can't you see that God's will was better? Oh, you are not so weak as I thought in your belief. Why didn't I know better? Well, because I was grappling with the world. That is it.
Is this Hiram talking, or is he talking for the General?
No, he is talking for the General. He is quoting the General's words.
You remember the little poem? Tell me, you winged winds, that round my pathway roar. Do ye not know some spot?
Words not all correctly caught here, but these are the first lines of the verse he was trying to quote.
You remember that?
Yes.
You remember? Some lone and pleasant dell, some valley in the west, where free from toil and pain, the weary soul may rest?
General, you used to repeat a lot of poetry, didn't you?
Oh, I forgot. Yes, I did. I have found that peace, that rest, the beautiful awakening of the spirit. I have longed for a talk with you, but I did not understand the conditions.
Yes, I have been only waiting patiently for you to come.
You have called for me in your spirit. I knew it and felt it, but I could not reach down until the conditions were arranged for it. Do you know what they all mean? Perhaps you know better than I do. But these good priests who opened the way, who showed me the light, opened the door for me, and here I am. Would to God you could see me as I am. I am quite the man that I was. only my ideas are all changed. They are more now, I think, in harmony with your own. Oh, it is beautiful. It is ideal, just over the river. Lift the veil and you know all. Tell me something of yourself. But oh, why was I so blind? It was because of the thickness of the flesh.
General, do you know what I am doing?
Yes, I know it well. Do you mean the nature of the work or the private work?
I mean this minute.
This present minute?
Yes.
Why, aren't you registering something?
Yes.
I can see your hand move and I can see your spirit too, so plainly, and the spiritual hand guides the material hand, and it seems as though it was registering something. Is it what I am saying?
Yes.
Well, that is natural.
Well, I guess so.
That is natural, and how rapidly you worked with that for me. I shall never forget those days.
This, of course, refers to the 8 years of association in public office, and especially to the first 5, when I reported hearings, conferences, etc., at which he presided and also wrote much at his dictation.
And do you remember the last time I saw you in the body?
Yes.
You remember what you said to me? Do you remember saying, "I think you are getting better"?
I think I said that time. I said this many times to him during his illness, and probably said it the last time I saw him.
Yes, you did. You were so hopeful and you helped me so much, but I could not tell you all I felt. Do you hear?
Yes. It was generally understood among those who were near him that my hope for his recovery was stronger than that of anyone else, though no one else knew the ground for my hope. Strong prophetic statements had been made to me regarding future work, etc., which involved his life, and which, it seemed to me then, could not possibly reach their fulfillment if he died.
Can't you speak to me and tell me something of yourself?
I will speak slowly, so that I can register it. Register is a term used from the other side, which I adopted.
All right. Do you remember coming to me and telling me about your belief? And do you remember I said I would like to accept it, but I did not know? I did not understand?
I knew that was the way you felt.
But I felt that all through. I could not understand it. I do now. What fools we are. But those few who seek light and light is given them are blessed, aren't they?
General, do you remember the very last words that you said to me?
The last words that I said were, I think I said, didn't I say I should see you again and ask you to come out?
To come out is exactly the right expression. His home was in the suburbs of Boston, about 6 miles from the center. Well, you expected me out the next day.
Oh, I said goodbye to you. I said goodbye, come tomorrow, I shall see you tomorrow or something. I can't remember the exact words, but that is the idea. What were they?
The very last words that you said were good night. You said that, just as naturally, as though you were perfectly well.
Yes, I remember saying goodbye to you. I remember thinking, looking forward to see you again. Then what was the next thing? Then I passed over.
Yes.
Between that time and the time, you did not come again. Tell me a little about that. That may help me to come.
Do you remember you used to sit in a chair?
Oh yes. I remember one thing. I remember sitting with a blanket over my knees, over my body.
He sat that way nearly all the time, day and night, for a year, not being able to lie down during the greater part of his illness, and he was rarely without a blanket over his knees, even in the warmest weather. There is a little further talk here about the conditions of his illness. General, do you remember?
How far away are you now from here? You seem quite a little distance away.
I had not been quite close to the psychic. I moved a little nearer and put my hand on her shoulder. My hand is on the medium shoulder.
I suppose it is because the flesh divides us.
Do you remember that I used to bring messages through this same channel?
Oh, I remember. There was a friend of yours, a lady in the body. Now, who was she? I can't think what her name was, but she lived somewhere in some other town, and you used to go and see her, and then come and bring me messages from the priests who are helping me now. But I can't remember who she was, but I remember the messages perfectly, the nature of the messages, and they really helped me. They gave me great encouragement, and that is all I needed, was encouragement, until time helped me over.
Arlington Heights, where Mrs. Piper then lived, is about 8 miles from Boston Center, in an opposite direction from where his home was.
What was you going to say about the messages? Oh, I wish you knew how I felt. How light I am, how I can see, how I can read, and how I can move about, how free I am from encumbrance, how clear my mind is, how really supremely happy I am. You would be delighted for my sake.
I never wanted to call you back.
Good. You knew too well how I suffered. But tell me about the children. I would like to know a little something about the children.
There is quite a little conversation here, about members of his own family, about whom he seemed eager to hear, and he asked if I had been out to his home since he passed away. About 6 months after the general died, a grandson about 2 years of age who was named for him, passed away. Another grandson was born on December 16, 1903, just a week previous to date of the present sitting. I knew only of the fact, did not know what the child was named, or whether it was named at all. But, in giving him information about the family, into which this child was born, I say, referring to the father of the child. And he has got a new baby. Did you know that?
Yes. The little one I knew about. It is just the little details of the material life which I cannot grasp, and in which I long to have you help me. But the actual life, and the actual life of the children, and all that, is well known to me, but the details of the material life I cannot see.
Do you remember little Augustus?
Oh yes. Tell me about him.
Do you know where he is?
Well, I know about the little one that came over. I know him. He is with me, and we are very happy together. But didn't he name the other?
I don't know what he has named him yet.
Hasn't he called him Augustus? He has, I am sure, one of the two names. But his first one is with me.
Now, I don't know whether he has named him Augustus or not.
Well, he has.
So that will be a good test for me.
That is one of his names.
I will find out about it.
And sometime you can speak with me about it, but meanwhile, I know it is true. But the little fellow followed me very soon, didn't he?
Yes.
I knew, and I was so glad to have him come, and he is better off here, much better off. In fact, it is all right. I have no words of complaint to offer.
I ascertained afterwards that the new baby was named William Everett, but his mother told me that they called him Augustus nearly all the time. He seemed to take the place of the little Augustus whom they lost.
Are you getting along all right in the world?
I do not reply immediately. You know I want to take this all down, and that is why I am a little slow.
Oh, I see. Well, don't hurry. There is no hurry in this world. I see a light burning, and at the end of that light, I am talking, and when the light begins to go out, of course, I must go. That is, I can't talk with you, but I shall be with you just the same, and you will be conscious of it. Are you getting along as well as when I was with you?
Oh, about as well.
Do you have to work hard?
Well, I have to work every day.
But not any harder?
No.
I am glad. I would like to see you a little free for a few hours, in what we used to call day, and have a little leisure for rest and reading up, on subjects concerning the advancements of a higher life. And it would be so much better if you could, so much more helpful. And yet the body has to be fed, I know. It has to be clothed. I know that, and don't forget those things in my experience, but still there is a great deal beside that. That is nothing. That is only the covering.
Well, I have been told that I should be free sometime, but I do not see much prospect of it now.
Yes, I do. I see all round you light which indicates more rest, less hard work, And that is the reason why I spoke to you, if it was not very near you. It must be, I can see it so plainly. Will you tell me now if you are really having any rest?
A little in the evening, that is all.
Work all day?
Yes.
Isn't it daytime with you now?
I got off. I got excused.
But that is something new for you.
Well, I managed it.
I mean, it isn't a thing that you used to stick pretty well.
I would not get off for anything but you, to come and see you. I would give up everything for that.
Oh yes. Are you really physically well?
I am quite well, and trying to be very well. I mentioned some slight physical ailment.
Well, don't you know you must be out in the air a great deal? You must go what we used to call walking, and be out in the air a great deal too. You can get out. Don't confine yourself to the four walls of your room. Now that is my advice. Can't you go up to the library? You remember the library? Go up there and get a little reading matter. Take the walk to and fro. Go back and read a little, take in a little study. That will help us in the work, and that is all you need to do. Eat slowly. Don't hurry so. Take plenty of time and be careful what you do eat. That is my advice to you. I am a little weak just now and my thoughts begin to tremble.
Are you speaking through the medium, or is Hiram interpreting for you now?
Hiram is doing it for me. I could not take possession of the medium yet.
Can you do it sometime?
Yes, but not just now. I am trying to understand the laws and the workings of the machine. And they put me up here so I could see. Just like a schoolboy being sent to the board to figure out a multiplication table. I am set up here, I am held here. And there are 3 clergymen, one behind me and one on either side of me, holding me up here and telling me to talk. And I am talking to Hiram, and Hiram is repeating it after me, and I am trying to do a sum in geometry. That is just what I am trying to do. And since I am not fully equipped in that problem, perhaps you can understand something of the difficulty.
I think you are doing wonderfully well.
But I can hear you. And so long as I can hear you, and get my thoughts over the line clear, that is all I want.
General, as far as I have heard, you have done wonderfully well for the first time.
They have been preparing me for months and months to make me understand it. They have put me up here and taken me away again. They have held me up and showed me the light and said, do this and do that and see this and see that, and shown me the details and the ins and outs and the whys and wherefores, and why shouldn't I learn something, after having it hammered into me all that time? Then I said, well, I must reach her. It is an utter impossibility for me to let go until I do. I will move heaven and earth, but I must reach her. And they said, wait, you have got to learn. You must go here with us. You must stand on this side, hold up your hands, bow your head, speak in this kind of a way. Speak slowly, articulate distinctly. But without the preparation, there is a good deal of confusion. But they are very, very good to me, and they know. What they don't know about the details of this light is not worth knowing. I assure you that, if you can grasp me, with your clear mind you can grasp it pretty well, I think.
There is some talk about the private work, and he expresses himself very emphatically. General, you are just as positive as you used to be, aren't you? The psychic seemed to smile.
Perhaps you would not recognize me if I was not. Well, I have retained my individuality, thank God. Do you know where Poland is, Poland Springs?
Oh, I guess I do.
Do you remember about it?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I don't think anybody except ourselves.
Why, they know where it is, of course.
But, I had an interest in it. I loved it.
I know. You loved it much.
You might go there sometime. You know, it came into my mind as soon as could be.
The place where the famous Poland Spring is located is the one spot on earth that he loved. He was born about 3 miles from the hill on which the large hotel now stands. He was always supplied with the water, and thought it the finest water in the world. There was no thought of the place in my mind when he made reference to it.
Here is little Augustus. Don't you see him?
Is he here?
Yes, as happy as a bee, just as busy. He is a dear little fellow.
Give him my love if he understands it.
Well, I will. He will be glad to have it. Do you remember rubbing my arms?
Yes.
Well, they don't need rubbing anymore, thank God. Now, before I get too weak. You know, this is quite an effort for me. For the first time. Before my thoughts begin to wander, have you got any especial question you wish to ask me? About my life? About anything?
Well, General, I want you to try and think up some of the details of the last moments. Or rather, after you passed out the first few days. I referred to details of what happened with me, or at his home, but my question is not clear.
I know what it was. When I first passed out, my mind was cloudy, rather confused. I felt as though I was going into space, did not know where, drifting as it were, for a few hours, that was all. And then I felt as though there was a strong hand grasped me and said to me, "It is all right, it is all over." And I said, "What is over?" I could not seem to understand what it all meant. And after a little while, perhaps an hour, possibly an hour or two, I saw, oh, such a light. You cannot imagine it, cannot conceive what it is like. It is the most brilliant, and yet the softest moonlight that you ever saw. And I thought, what a beautiful light it was. And all of a sudden, I saw people moving about. I saw their heads, their figures. Then they seemed all clad in white, and I could not seem to make them out. They were moving in the air. And I said, what is this place? Where am I? What am I? What has happened? It was all such a puzzle to me. When I get strong, I will tell you about it. I can't tell you any more now. What you want me to. Do think over the few days.
Before I come again, I mean.
And when I come back to tell you what my experience was, I tell you one thing. The clergyman, who is talking for me now, was the best friend I ever had. And he said, "Come along. It is all right. I will show you the way. It is all right. You will get over this confusion in a minute, and I will help you." And I said, "Who are you? What are you? What are you here for? Where am I? Where am I going? What am I doing? What does all this mean?" He said, "Never mind. It will all be clear to you in a few minutes. Just wait patiently and come with me." And he stood ready to welcome me.
Well, who was he?
Well, his name is Hart.
Oh.
He says, "I know who you know who I know. Now we will be friends together, and this is all right. I have had experience, and I know, and I will explain it to you in a few minutes." I thought I saw the doctor bending over me, and I wanted him to get away. He seemed to be in my way as I was going out. I wanted to get away from him, and all of a sudden I was going through this misty, cloudy way, and then I went fast until I got to this light, and it was like going up in the air, in a balloon as it were. You could not conceive of anything more strange and beautiful. In a sense, the confusion was not so beautiful, but because it was so, I could not seem to retain my consciousness, and could not seem to be released from the burden that hung over me. And, all of a sudden, the moment I realized that this hand was on my arm, then I began to see clearly. And from that moment, I have been advancing and going on. And I have seen everybody I ever knew, and I have had the happiest time you could imagine. I have a mansion all my own, and live in it just the same as you live in your place there, just the same. I have walls, I have pictures, I have music, I have books, I have poetry, I have everything.
I see.
It is not a facsimile of that life, but that life is a miserable shadow of what this really is. And when I get strong, as I become stronger, and that is more accustomed to using this line, I can tell you more clearly about it. Well, it has been. Oh, I can't tell you what it means to me to see you. I can't tell you how you have cleared my mind. I can't tell you what you have done for me. Now I am going to repay it all back by turning and working for you.
It was early morning when the general died. His doctor was not present. 2 of his sons were present and must have been bending over him, for, as they were helping him back into his chair, which he had left for a few moments, his strength gave way entirely, and he passed out shortly after. Hiram Hart was not a clergyman in this life, but he came in time to be spoken of at the sittings as such, and I was told that he had become one. Although he passed out 9 years before I became acquainted with the general, he seems to have been the latter's guide through the misty passage that separates the 2 worlds.
I think I shall have to go. How long have I been here?
Nearly an hour.
An hour in the earthly world? Well, I don't know how long that is, but I am too weak to remain. That is, I am afraid I can't use this light anymore.
A few words of farewell. Then, in a most natural, persuasive tone, as if addressing a child.
Come, Augustus. You come with me, dear, and we will go and find some play toys. We will have a good time together. Come with Grandpa. Come along.
Then, as if addressing me.
He is going.
Rector returns.
It is I, Rector.
I am glad to see you, Rector.
I have returned, friend, because our leader said to me to keep the passageway clear and keep all right. Friend, all is right in thy world with us this day. Thou hast good conditions for us. Art thou aware of it?
I am glad to know that. I had a long talk with Rector, during which I asked, "Is the general coming here much through this medium?"
At times he is. He is a marvelous personality, and he has a very clear mind, and he has a very earnest desire to work for God and humanity.
It must be remembered that the spirit known as Rector, the so-called control, always appears at the opening of a sitting and again at its close. Sometimes there are long conversations with him, much spiritual advice and help is given, and quite often messages for other persons are received by the sitter, or messages from other persons are delivered by the sitter to the trance personalities. Close.